success and failure, let's say, are here. Here they are again, and here's the line between the two. Now, I realize this is a really difficult thing to imagine because it's difficult to measure the size of a success or the size of a failure, right? It's not like you have a magic set of calipers that you just put on and you go, okay, that's a number 3 failure, or that's a number 7 success. But bear with me for a moment here while I'm trying to illustrate this and quantify this, because I want to draw your attention to the fact that, there are different sized successes in your life. This is a relatively small success. You can see by the relatively short distance above the line. This is the sort of success that, it's not that big. This is sort of the prospect of some good feedback from somebody, or maybe you got a great parking place, okay? Small success, right? And correspondingly, it embraces a small prospect of failure, all right? So here we have the small prospect of failure. In other words, if I failed in this endeavor, it's nothing worse than like some negative feedback or a longer walk into the store. Does that make sense? Not complicated, right? In other words, small success has the prospect of small failure. Let's try it on in a different way. Let's say you've got sort of a big success here you'd like to have. I mean, this is the kind of success that doesn't just, give you a passing positive thought. This is the kind of success that's going to sustain you, and that if you really pursue it, it kind of gets tangled up with your identity in kind of a good way, and you feel really fulfilled and excited, and it means something to you that you succeed in this fashion. You with me? That kind of big success? Well, correspondingly, it comes with the prospect of a similarly large failure. When I say large failure, this is the kind of failure that, honestly, it's going to put a dent in you. You're not going to bounce back from it quickly. This is the kind of failure that's demoralizing. If this kind of success has to do with like a huge business deal or maybe a really important relationship, well, then this level of failure is more like all about bankruptcies and breakups. So we have a large success correlates with a large failure. A small success correlates with a small failure. And understanding that you can only pursue a success in equal proportion to the failure you're willing to risk could change the way that you think about setting goals or pursuing goals. Now, here's why I suggest that, because look, the point of this, there are really several implications of this. And the main implication isn't that, boy, you should just risk a whole lot more. That would just be reckless, right? You should take on greater and greater risk because that's in the interest of success. Now, that's not necessarily true. And I'm not in a place to necessarily tell you that that's the sort of choices that you should make. But what I do want to suggest is that you should consider whether or not you are willing to embrace the same level of failure as the success that you're wanting to pursue. Because what I see happen often is that people want to do something really great. They want the kind of success that means a lot. They want to lead their team to something that's a really important strategic sort of victory. And they start noticing what's at stake. And naturally, it's a significant thing that's at stake. I mean, if they aren't successful in this really big goal, it's going to be sort of a crash and burn moment, right? And so what they do is they start looking at failure and they start protecting themselves from this. They start hedging their bets because they're thinking, I don't want to experience this kind of failure, this sort of size of a failure, right? That makes sense. So they start doing things to hedge their bets and kind of get rid of some of this risk. Maybe they start pulling the bar down. Maybe they start tempering what it is they're really purposing to do. But the idea is they're doing what seems naturally logical. They're trying to protect themselves or protect their team from the prospect of this sort of impact from a big failure. But now that we understand that the relationship of success and failure is not only inseparable, but it's proportional, you realize what's happening above the line, right? As we're focused here on minimizing the size of the potential failure, we've quietly been cutting off the prospect of success as well. So in the end, we wind up being successful in achieving our goals, but we're often underwhelmed at how high our goals were. We never felt like we were pulling down the bar. We never thought that we were like aiming at a lesser success. We just thought we were doing the most reasonable and responsible things to mitigate the sorts of risks that we have to face, and yet the two move together. Does that make sense?